This is Trinot, and this is Path of Exile Necropolis. This is our slow walkthrough. We're going to do SSF and Papercut Trin. Recently just failed to kill a god, and now had to run away, go to Act 6. We are in Part 2. So I was alluding to in other videos, sessions, how there is a Part 1 and Part 2. That's different from the acts. Each part has 5 acts, and you may take a guess, given how we are in Lionized Watch, that Part 2 is a reflection, kind of the first 5 acts. So we'll be going through a remix of the areas we went through before. So it was kind of cheating when the devs said they were adding 6 whole new acts for the Fall of Oriath expansion instead of just 1. People were pretty hyped about it, though. It's not totally untrue, though, because even though we're retreading old areas a little bit, they are remixed heavily, and there's all new bosses and all new enemies. And the zones are very laid out. There is some asset reuse, but not as much as you'd think. Anyways, there was one quest we had that I clicked on just as we got here. Lily wants us to clear out the Twilight Strand as payment for riding on her ship to Lionized Watch. Sen here
Despite your best efforts, Beast Slayer,
is telling us that we need to go kill Chevron.
Never been one for history class.
Yeah, duelist. Alright, one gotta wonder how deep the keen of this ship is, given how there's, can't be that deep of a water. Maybe it is. But in Act 4, there was 3 mini-bosses from Alakai: Chevron, Malagaro, and Doidre. Probably should have made more note of them, because now our goal through the next 6 acts is to be kind of killing them, to power them up, to use them as fuel for getting the thing we need to kill Kitava. Let's see. Now, the big troll, if you will, of Act 6 is that Kitava afflicts you with a permanent debuff of -30 to all resistances: lightning, fire, cold, chaos. And so our precious 100% and overcapped resistances are now -30 on chaos, and then low on here too. They're actually below resistances on lightning, which we want to fix. Unfortunately, as much as I tried last time to fix that, I do believe we are a little hindered in that regard. However, I do have a sneaking idea of what to do. We're going to refund this passive, get quick 30 intelligence. I know that's cringe, but bear with me. And then we are going to reallocate. Go back to our turtle hideout and reallocate this intelligence. There's some lightning. Oh, it already has a mod of that type. Oh. We can do fire res, maybe. And then there was something here that had... Oh, this has open prefix. Oh, no, it has lightning already. There's something I had put fire res on. Here we go. And then this becomes lightning res. And lo and behold, we're overcapped again. So I did spend secretly probably a lot of that playthrough so far, making sure I was not only 75% resistance over, but 105% resistance over on Elemental. You may notice also my Chaos resistance is a -30. I haven't bothered putting any points in Chaos Res. That's because generally Chaos Res, up until truly like late in the end game, I'd say is not... Like, the game lets you get away with negative chaos res, preferably like 0 chaos res in the late game. All the way up to like late game, and kind of not the latest of end game. Eventually it's to the point where you might want higher chaos res, but chaos res is not designed to be capped, unless there's like very specific situations. Well, since we probably collected a lot of corpses, let's go to the morgue. Just...
What?
Yeah, we have a lot of these. Let's make a resistance ring. And let's do cold and lightning res. Or just a sapphire ring.
So that you may guide their hands to success!
That's actually really good. I mean, chaos res is a plus, nevertheless, so I won't say no to it. I just won't say hi to it. This actually fixes our res by a decent amount, just not our lightning res. I'm keeping this though. Alright. 2, 3, 4, reforge. Let's see. Do scarcer fizz mods. +1 explicit. We'll craft an armor piece. Let's do body armor. And we'll do a field lamellar or armor and evasion. The Hussar Brigadine.
May the grace of Prospero relieve you of your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may house their valiant soul!
Alright. Fire Cold Lightning. That is outside of the lower life roll. Very welcome. Oh, that's hybrid life. Oh no, it's double life. That's a shame. A fun fact, if you have... Normally you can't craft a affix on a piece of gear that has a similar affix already. So like if I have fire resistance on this belt, I can't craft another fire resistance affix. They're in the same mod pool. However, hybrid, evasion life, as this fleas prefix modifier says, doesn't count as the same mod pool as just flat life. So had that flat life not rolled, I could have added life to this, and that would have been very fun. That does fix my resistances enough to wear this, probably. Would want to. So screw it. We have a 4-link now. That's an upgrade enough to matter. I think we want 3. I think we want main. So 3 red, 3 green, and 1 red. There we go. Let's take a look at our 74 fire res, really? Oh, this had a higher number. Okay, we craft fire res on this then. Yeah, we just do this. Oh, there we go. We're overcapped. And mind you, it's sometimes better to get closer to 90 resistances or 85. Roughly higher, because enemies can inflict debuffs on you that reduce your resistances by 10. So our lightning res being 77 overcapped is still not ideal. It's still serviceable. You're not always debuffed. It's just sometimes it comes up and it gets really annoying. Then just see our rings again. I can craft lightning res somewhere. I think we'll actually be... Unfortunately, we are not, so... But our cold resistance is much higher, which is nice. And our chaos res is higher, which is nice. It's nice enough. And we have a 4-link, which cannot be understated. Okay. Get that precious maim out. Dread Banner. Where's Dread Banner normally? Right here? Just make sure that's turned on. Keep these around. Now, the other thing is that's low is our life pool. You generally want, at least by the end of an act for me, 300 life per act. So if we were closer to 1800 life, that'd be better. So I will be focusing on getting life. My build, what's my accuracy at? 2200, yeah. So we're fine on accuracy. The final thing I want is maybe a better amulet. And we want a lapis amulet, I think.
May the shine of Solaris burn away your anguish and aid this soldier, so that you may guide their hearts to glory.
Ah, crit chance, we don't care about that. We do care about the intelligence, though. We can craft life on this. Spell damage is pointless, though. But this is otherwise an upgrade. We can just craft life on it and we're fine. Elemental res is a little lower, though. Which is not ideal. So we actually can't wear this just yet. Unfortunate. I'm keeping this, though. If I can fix my resistances elsewhere, we're definitely doing that. Alright, let's see. Defense modifier, let's just do some boots.
So that you may grace them with fleetness.
I was hoping for move speed just randomly. Alas, we did not get it. Airmore has a little downtime between crafts where you can talk to him again. Very strange. Alright, let's continue the game. So now there's a very important quest to do. One of the few optional quests that doesn't give a skill point. Oh yeah, Act 6. So there's one quest that doesn't give skill points that you actually want to do. It's kind of like the library quest. Doesn't even give a gem reward directly, but it gives one of the best vendors in the game. Enemies have slightly more complicated rare modifiers now. Exploding orbs has appeared. So the first quest of Act 6 is to kill all monsters, as one does. Ooh, an S-Stock, isn't that higher tier? Oh yeah, let's change our filter. I was playing the normal mode for a little too long. Alas, not an upgrade. Ah, we have another thing too. Now the big worry is that the game doesn't bug out on us, because there is a bug where if you kill all the monsters, there might be one monster remaining that isn't actually there. Hopefully, that is the one peril of stuff like that. Alright, let's get life. That is one peril of this mission is sometimes you have to redo the area. Hopefully we won't have that suffering. Just a reminder, this build is not designed to be good. It's designed to actually be slow enough that we can talk about the game a little bit. The thing about this game is, while builds get more and more demanding the higher you go, you can actually get pretty far in this game without like needing perfect planning on your tree or super optimal gear. It's really only till very late into the game that things kick in where you want to build that can doesn't suffer. I'd say even only recently have they made it so like only certain builds can really progress without exorbitant crafting and gear. That was Reese of Abram. No, there's no lore about him as far as I know. He's just a noble that had extra souls in him. Alright, we got all the monsters, so we'll just work out. Karai here has appeared, and she has a quest for us because of the rogue marker that we randomly picked up. It's not guaranteed to appear at the beach, but it can. Oh yeah, Nessa's disappeared. Vestal's the new potion vendor. I don't know if we should let him handle potions or whatever. Anyways, Lily's happy, and all we get at first is respec points.
While you be skulking about, I've managed.
Hang on, I misclicked. But more importantly, she sells every gem in the game, including Act 4 gems. Oh, Convocation's in that tab 7 now. This used to be a blue gem that you could level up to 20 until this patch. Now it's only a level 1 gem, and just generally it's used to summon minions to you that follow you around. We're not going to be using it. That would be a good sword for us had we not decided to go one-handed. So yeah, we can buy every support in the game, very useful, not really needed right now, but who knows, it might come in handy later. And they're all at level 1, kind of like Siosa.
Not right now.
So Act 6 is definitely a good threshold for getting all the gems you need. Specifically the gems you missed in Act 4.
Do I hear the clink of markers in your pockets?
One thing I've noticed, Karai has actually a portrait. They started adding portraits to characters somewhere around the patch Karai got introduced.
Greetings.
Notice Tarkle's nameplate different from Karai's. So yeah, if you're in town or hideout, you can right-click and get a fancy portal to the Rogue Harbor. There's a gondolier that secretly took you. I don't know where he took you from. It was just a portal, but this is Heist expansion. Heist had a lot of bugs at the start. For instance, this is a town. Other players can be here, to the chagrin of people that don't want a bunch of MTX flooding their screen. The gondolier, you have to start here before, and originally these players that used to have hitboxes. So one meme people would do is they would wall off the dock where the gondolier was and just make a human wall and nobody could enter, just as a meme. And then I saw fun videos of that. They finally got rid of that pretty quickly, actually. The other thing is the gondolier, you have to walk up this stairway the entire time. They put the gondolier here after you first visit. Alright.
Exile. I'll be here when you need me.
Gives us a quest to talk to every NPC in town.
I am Adi.
Dia.
Go well.
Dia teleports us to the heist missions we'll be doing. Faustus vendor is the only character that'll sell us rogue markers for things we get from heist. Wakano the barber has intel on the things we spend rogue markers on.
Got something needs me.
Isla's one of the
Next time.
one of the heist characters you can drag along. Same with Karst. Karst does lockpicking, Isla does engineering. There's another player. And Tibbs. Tibbs does brute force. You can actually open up a little panel and they show us the ice characters. This is actually a fairly involved expansion. One of the more, like... One of the earlier expansions is just like, oh, the monsters are in crystal. You break them open, you get the essences. Now it's like, yeah, there's a whole town with tons of new items and 9 different characters you can level up with different jobs they have and different abilities. And then there's like not only these contracts you run, but like full contracts. Anyways, we talked to Karai. You're not going to do this quest just yet.
Stay out of trouble.
We are going to, however, check mark Heist Locker Affinity. So now whenever we put on contracts and rogue markers in the world, we can just put them in here. And this will be available in our hideout, so I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the campaign. However, we might do a heist as a showcase, probably at a better level. I'm actually pretty squishy in heist. Actually, this is a little bit harder than normal content, I would say. And while I could gamble it, I don't feel like it right now. So that's heist, for now. We'll probably do heist maybe around Act 7. And just as a note, the heist locker's in our hideout. It's not in town, but we can just go to the turtle hideout, and or any hideout, and find it. Alright, with that in tow, time to progress the game. The quest gives us... oh, Lord's Labyrinth is still around, because the Cruel Labyrinth is a thing. So all our quests are dragging us to the prison. They don't show us, actually, where to go this time. That's weird. But we have to go to the Mud Flats. Act 1 starts off very similar to... Act 6 starts off very similar to Act 1. The coast is our first area. However, things are different. For starters, time for an encore. The zombies aren't here. 2 Kohama characters, much like Kelm soldiers, are here. They're just reskins of Hyries or Kelm's monsters. Sand Spitters are still here. I guess they're allowed to live. And immediately, you think the game would give players downtime to get their elemental resistance up. But immediately we're assaulted with fire and cold damage. Alright. So these green holes are called abysses. They become more relevant later in the game. But basically, they create a fissure in the ground, a hole appears, and you chase the fissure and find more monsters out of the holes. The monsters can be a little spicy, so hopefully we can handle it, but I have my doubts. A lot of monster density here. And after a certain amount of fissure chasing, we'll get an Abyssal Trove and eye jewels. Eventually, you'll get certain events that let you drop a belt that can wear those eye jewels. Otherwise, the eye jewels work just like regular jewels. They go in your jewel sockets on this passive tree. But they can also go in a special belt type called the Stygian Vice. So they're like both a gear spot and a jewel spot. They're actually pretty useful in late game when you can get higher level versions. Jewels are weird in that the normal jewels, the Crimson, Viridian, and Cobalt, don't actually have item level affixes. See, one thing I haven't mentioned is that the stats on your gear scale with item level, like you'd expect. So like you get more powerful stats on higher level gear found in higher level zones. That doesn't apply to normal jewels. Normal jewels can roll anything from the get-go. It does apply to eye jewels, though. So you want high item level eye jewels, preferably if you're going with that route. Eventually, people don't even use those belts. The Stygian Vices are pretty much, up until you use specialty belts, probably the best belts in the game. Because eye jewels are essentially 4 extra lines of stats on them. Oh, here's the mini-boss of the area, Ukahama's Loyal. It's just a doggo with Molten Shell and a burrow ability. I think it's dead. And again, we're going to search for armor and evasion pieces and one-handed swords. Is this corrupted? Oh yeah, it is, alas. Aha, Einhar is here. So yeah, we have enemies that summon rain of arrows. When they shoot up, you want to move, because they'll shoot it, they'll land where you shot, where they shot. They don't track their shots or anything. You have the fire doggos, and you have warriors that summon searing, scorching ray totems, which are the laser fire beams. A lot of fire and cold in this area. No lightning just yet. Lightning happens near the prison, actually. We've got a little bit to go before then. You know, I haven't put the curse on. Let's do that. That should help. You know what? I'm actually okay with my damage a little bit. Maybe I'm in denial, but I feel like my damage has gone up a little bit. Alright, let's do the mud flats. They both have the same amount. Do we have any all flames? We have the frost mage. Yeah, I'm not going to do all flames. All flames are cool to add more items and stuff, but we want to showcase the enemies this playthrough. So count that as one league mechanic we're not interacting with until way later. Might do it if I come across frogs, though. There's a all flame member of frogs that appears. Alright, so the story takes us to an interesting area. We do have to go to the mud flats for the story. However, we don't actually have to find Nessa, who is in the mud flats. Although we can say hi to her if she will be here. What we really need to do is find access to the fetid pool, that one area I skipped in the Part 1 playthrough. In Part 1, the fetid pool is a completely optional area that just gives you 2 respec points. It involves killing all the monsters in there, it's kind of tedious and a waste of time, not worth going to. This time, the game assumes I guess we cleared it, because Tukohama has decided, well, spoilers, but the Kurui God of War has taken over the fetid pool and turned it into his fortress. So cleaned it up a little bit, got rid of the smell, hopefully. We're not sure. We're not quite sure about the smell. Apparently the fetid pool does smell, as the name might imply. In order to get into the fetid pool, though, we need to kill the Dishonored Queen, who I don't think is supposed to be Hyrie, but might be. I think lore-wise Hyrie is elsewhere, but not sure about that. Or, I mean, Hyrie is definitely actually found elsewhere, but Hyrie was queen. Maybe there's a different queen, but it would make sense for it to be Hyrie. So I'm not sure what the game's going with here.
He did this to me. The King of Brian.
Anyways, Nessa's in the water now.
Oh God. Please. I don't know how I'm doing this, nor if I may again. Help me. Help us before.
So Nessa's turned into a mermaid. That's probably not great. And now we have to go to the ship graveyard to find Nessa, because, you know, ship graveyard has, they're implying that, you know, she's turning into kind of a similar siren that Merveil did. But more importantly, however, you may notice the submerged passage flows. So this is where Act 6 deviates from Act 1. In Act 1, you went to the submerged passage, and then up to the ledge. We're not going that way this time. In fact, we're going somewhere quite different. We are going to the route that I guess Tarkley went through to get to the fort to scout the area last time. It was a much more hazardous route, apparently. And that will involve going the long way to where the Kurui Fortress, which we needed the Eye of Conquest from the Dishonored Queen to enter. Realistically, we didn't even need to talk to Nessa. That was just a treat. We just kill the Dishonored Queen, get the Eye of Conquest, go back here to the Kurui Fortress, and unlock the area. Sure. And we gotta find the exit. Nico's here too. Why not?
Another good find.
Oh, we got frozen. So yeah, Kurui Fortress. It's just the mud flats, but prettier looking. Flowers are here now. Trees are here now, blooming. I'll chalk that up to the power of the god or whatever.
This'll do nicely, Exile.
And there are Kurui buildings here now. The Kurui are building up, or demonic Kurui, I guess. I don't know how the normal Kurui would get here. And Tukohama. So there's a god of war named Tukohama, and an essence in here for some reason, and a crafting recipe for defenses. Tukohama's gimmick is he has normal fiery melee attacks, but he also has a giant totem shooting a searing ray at us that slowly chases you. It will turn around if we go that way, funnily enough. It doesn't spin slowly across the whole arena, it's just chasing you the entire time. Partway through the fight, around half health for Tukohama, force fields appear. There's these protection totems. Our damage is actually pretty good, all things considered. It's not some leveling speed, proper speed damage, but it's good enough to showcase the fight, but also not worry about it too hard. So yeah, you just circle around. Don't get hit by the totem. It causes you to take a fire damage penalty debuff. And you don't want to take a fire damage debuff in this fight. It's a lot of damage to worry about. The red marker on the ground is actually where the totems are going to target. I think they also cause a debuff, right? No, they don't. Let's see if this one's harder.
The soil wants for your blood no more.
It has less health than Tukohama, thankfully.
I am Sin, thief of
So, the other gimmick of Part 2 is we get Pantheon powers. The gods are people that apotheosis.
See, Tukohama? Best not mention this to the Karui.
And Sin will give us little powers of the gods we killed. Sin can steal god powers, I guess. So we'll take Soul of Tukohama. Gods in this game have basic powers, and they can be upgraded. It says Capture Tassin Warmaker. We're not going to do that right now, but the first thing is we get physical damage reduction if we stand still, which is kind of nice. It's not actually really that good, because you're not going to stay still for more than a second in this game. But we'll take this ability nonetheless, because it's the only one we have right now. And yeah, Tukohama was blocking the Kurui Fortress. So now we can go out the other side. Easy. You know, even though chain boots are not the ideal base for us, I'll still pick it up because we're looking for more movement speed. Movement speed starts off at 10%, but we could honestly probably get 20% or even 25 at this point. Alright, the ridge has a wide variety of enemies. We'll just leave it be. But first we're going back to town, because my inventory's getting kind of full. Part of this game is knowing when to go back to town. Speedrunners have much more optimal going back to town routes, but... Aha! 25% move speed. Easy game. And an open suffix for lightning res, so it doesn't even slow us down. Perfect. I can do leap slam faster attacks now, actually. Alright, let's click all the gear.
Good tidings.
Sell all the non-essentials. It's a lot of accuracy. Not a lot of room for resistance or other attributes, though. Tempting, very tempting. A lot of armor, not a lot of attack speed. I'll keep it. That's vendor fodder. Golden Chaos, you say? That's tempting too, for other reason. You craft life on this even. Not a bad thought. You could use more resistances after all. The cold res is our highest, but I'll keep it. We don't really ever need the Sigil, it'll never become relevant, so vendor it goes. I'm picking up totems I don't need. Alright, so our fire res is a little low and our lightning res is a little low, so we will need to craft that on here. And while we're at it, let's gamble on flasks. Bubbling, you say? That could be better than this. But I'm gonna leave it be for now. Alright, so... what happens if we craft some... let's see, what happens if we put this on? Our fire res goes down, but we can craft... actually, I don't know where to craft the resistances. This is a downside for sure. Alright, but it says I have an open suffix for at least lightning res. And honestly, you don't even need to do this in the campaign if you just want to suffer a little bit rougher of a playthrough. Alright, lightning res is 90 now. Like, honestly, the game's not too impossible without max res early on. It becomes more of an issue at the end game. How much alchemy orbs do we have? 6? Okay, so I gotta be more thrifty with them. Nation's back on. Oh yeah, Lily's in our hideout now. Selling gems for us. We're gonna get faster attacks, actually. Wait, don't I have faster attacks? That's going where Leap Slam is. I have no idea where Leap Slam is. There it is. All our auras seem to be on. Our golem's dead, and that's fine. But faster attacks is really good for moving around with Leap Slam or any attack-based movement skill. You actually didn't need to buy the level 1 version about that. I guess we could craft lightning res on the cutlass, but that's a stopgap because the cutlass want to give damage to really. And we'll be upgrading the cutlass as probably the quickest thing of all of them. Here, let's add another tool. And no fusing, so... I don't know if I need double strike anymore. Might not. Hey, Lordy. Welcome to me humming and hawing over gear. Very essential part of PoE. But I think our accuracy's good. Our fire resistance is dangerously low, but that can be fixed. Actually, do we have any belts that are good? No, I haven't been saving my belts. Wait. This might be the one we need. How was I not wearing that belt earlier? Weird. Put this in the recipe tab. Put this in the glove tab. Vendor items. You can control click to vendor to NPCs now. Used to not be the case. Used to have to go to their vendor dialogue immediately. Alright. Well, now that we killed Tukohama and went back to town, Tarkly will be like, hey, we can kill a god. Also talk to Nessa.
Stay sharp out there.
We will happily gain a level. I was going for Impale effect before. Let's do that again. And now to the ledge. Or the ridge. The new version of the ledge. The much sexier version. It's new and spicy, therefore it's better. And already our life pool's back pretty close to the amount that I want it to be for the campaign. Realistically, we don't really need 1800 life. 1800 life plus the determination aura plus max res is going to be probably more than enough for this area. Though you never know. All Flame Ember of what? The False God. Which one is that? Oh wait, is that a reference to Kaduku? I might actually put that on. Thorn Rapier, Basilard. We want swords, so we gotta keep an eye out for those. But yeah, the ridge is kind of a circuitous route. Actually not really sure how it works. It's from right to left, though, is the general idea of where you're going. There's a few dead ends, and also a bunch of wheel skeletons. The wheel skeletons in Act 1 weren't originally there. They got shuffled over to Act 1 after they were first introduced in Act 6. They're clearly probably a Dark Souls reference, which in turn was a reference to Berserk. There's a lightning version, Fleet Freak, our first lightning damage enemy, that's really themed on it. And we'll just speed through here. Not much to say about the ridge. It's a fairly straightforward area. Well, not straight in terms of linearity, it's kind of windy, but there's not much to say about it. There's nothing, no special events here. It's just kind of filler. I feel like Act 6 may have some of the most filler areas of the game. It kind of goes on for longer than I want it to. But it's fine. Ah, 2 simmering. We want those. All flame ember of the false god. Well, I do hate the rattling condemn. There's these giant skeleton cages, and I kind of like the idea of totems attacking me. Because this is a cute reference to an older character called Kaduku and Kadaka. Kadaka was not in the game until like...
This is no fairy tale.
Oh yeah, Chevron's in the tower now. Chevron was the thaumaturge of Axiom Prison, and now she's made this her resting home again. So, for a while, you could get a mechanic called Prophecy, which is not in the game anymore, where you could talk to a character and she would cause a special event to appear elsewhere in the game. She would prophesize it happening. This could be ranging from the next time you use an Orb of Fusing, it'll become a 6-link, which was very valuable to trade between players. Or you'll come across in the ledge the second boss, Kadaka, along with Kaduku. So yeah, we're coming across a lot of totems now because of that. They would be Rattling Condemned, which is arguably a more annoying enemy. Oh yeah, new event.
You there, local, come here.
Act 6 tends to throw a lot of the expansions that were added to the game at you at once. All these expansions were started as League mechanics, which would be introduced all as early as the beach in Act 1, so now they got to try to squeeze them in somewhere in the main campaign.
Go well.
Expedition is these kind of Viking foreigners have gone to Raid class to dig up
Try to
the
go
remains.
as far as you can with the detonation cord.
And you place these detonators on the ground,
Away from me.
and
All placed.
Gwynin doesn't tell you this, but you might tell from all the skeletons that monsters appear. These monsters have a new type of defense, you know, like armor, evasion, energy shield, called Ward. Ward is a pretty crappy defense in most cases.
Go get 'em, local.
It will protect you from one hit,
You did it.
but that one hit, once that hit is done, every other hit will not be protected by Ward for 4 seconds. So every 4 seconds you'll be permitted one hit mitigation. It's not really that good, except for
Could have been more upfront about.
when you get a very rare item that lets you bypass that restriction, then it becomes actually a good build.
In a
Anyways.
good mood.
The other gimmick of Expedition is that the 4 NPCs associated with it, the 4 characters, will all have a different vendor option. Gwynin is similar to a character from Diablo 2, where you can just gamble for anonymous items. You can actually do that right now if we felt like it. The rarer bases cost more stuff to gamble with. Well, you know what? We need an Elder Sword. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's not good. It's close to good, but it's not good. Alright, let's get a... I mean, that's a 5. That's a chromatic orb right there. So, see, there you go. We're getting stuff. And we're out of currency. So, we'll see Gwynin randomly throughout the rest of the campaign. But first, we have the other 3 NPCs associated with this area first. If you see those circles on the ground, that's lightning warp attacking you. It's actually pretty deadly in groups, so we're not going to tempt fate and stand in those circles and find out how much damage we're taking. That lightning balls there is probably Kaduku or Kadaka. So yeah, these wouldn't normally be in the game, Kaduku and Kadaka. They're just fun friends to say hi to. Kadoka, sorry, not Kaduku. Kadoka. Kadoka likes to cast a lightning spin. Works differently from Kaduku, actually. Slightly different enemy type. Okay, that's a lot of lightning damage. If we actually could use a 5-link, this would be a great time for it. I don't think I'm specializing. Yeah, I'm specialized in the one-handed weapons already, alas. Otherwise, this would be really good. Might actually just go back to town at this rate. I don't want to yet, though, but time calls for desperate measures and something. And we do get resistances from the current shield we're using. For now, let's take care of these totems. The enemies here, the necromancers, curse us with flammability, making us take more fire, have lower fire resistance. Which, if we're overcapped on it, wouldn't do anything. But if we're not, then we take more fire damage. That's not good. Almost good. I might keep this just in case I decide to go two-handed sword. Because if I'm actually pretty... All I would have to do is get rid of these 3 points and put them here. Otherwise, I don't have any points into one-handed. So that's actually pretty doable. The downside being, we'll swap this out and not need a 5-link anymore, and we'd have to respec this to actually do damage. It's actually doing less damage on our one-handed sword currently. Oh yeah, the Astragali.
Now that we've a chance.
So normally, the expedition characters, their currency is locked to your account. You can't pick them up as items. All of this is true except for the reroll currency. This page will not refresh unless you spend the character's item that refreshes their content. For Gwynin, it's Astragali, these little dice. We'll just put them in the expedition locker. The game is nice enough to hand out these lockers for you instead of having to stash them in instead of having to stash them in your stash and adding up, cluttering more space. This probably is a better base. So I keep this just to make a better recipe of it. Let's see how Fidelis' spike works. It's just lightning. It's not good. Because we don't care about elemental damage, we only care about physical damage. And unfortunately, none of these have that. So we're just going to vendor all of this. We need to go back to that instance, and we're on a time limit of 8 to 15 minutes anyways. So just quickly appraise everything, sell it, get out of here. Alright, so the old stomping grounds do have labyrinth trials, the same as Act 1 did. There's one in the prison. However, the trial is slightly different now. I don't know how Azara pulled that off, but here we are. It's still spike traps, but they're laid out in a different layout that's ever so spicier. And you can still leap through it if you want to. And still get hurt if you stand in it. All that good stuff. The trick is to take your time, arguably, or something, and just aim it where you're moving. I still feel it's not great to have platforming like that. These little puzzles with point-and-click controls. I'd much rather the game utilize WASD, but what can you do? The game will introduce WASD. Oh, here's Kodaka. Kodoko and Kodaka. Kodaka is ice-themed. There's actually in-game variants of these bosses that still appear. They're just not called Kodoko and Kodaka. There we go. Easy. That's not good. And one trial done.
The strongest metal of them all.
One nice thing is you only need to do 3 trials for the second labyrinth. The other 2 will be located in Act 7. Alright, now that we've done that, we can head back. Let's use the keyboard clickety-clackety. I have to hold down Control and Q to summon my golem currently. Wait, how's Kodaka still? Oh, I guess there's a chance that... I guess it's not guaranteed if Kodaka... There's more than one or something. It's just a chance every pack that Kodaka's there. Oh, we got chain gloves, and Elder Sword is welcome, Burnished Foil is welcome. Studded Belt's likely not good, but you never know. Aha, there's the mini-map showing, for once, the Bronze Tower. Now this is a level 47 area, so might as well just put down the Frostmage Gemlings and... since we saw the Thunder Guardians already, we'll put down the Frostmage Gemlings. They're just lightning friends. This is where lightning damage comes into effect. Our golem's dying a lot. We'll probably not be using it much longer. Besides, it's thematic to have Frostmage Gemlings here, because Sharon is all about Gemlings and Thaumaturgy. So realistically, this is the place to do it. No, we just made some lower level enemies as a result, so that's nice. So, I am getting chilled from a lot of cold damage here. Thankfully, I have the magical handy ability of removing chill for a few seconds, thanks to this Hollowed Flask here of Convection. So if ever I feel like I'm getting too much chill or freeze, I can just use that to remove it. Eventually you want to find other ways to be immune to chill and freeze, but that's basically past the campaign at that point. Though if you do feel pressured by your elemental weaknesses, there is an aura that gives you resistances and immunity to all elemental ailments called Purity of Elements, and that's generally a good band-aid fix for all of those pesky ailments early on. So eventually you get out of that and go into just use other gear to fix those stopgaps. Interestingly enough, a lot of rare monsters have a modifier that says deals extra elemental damage of some sort, like extra fire or extra lightning, and exposure on hit, which makes you take less of that damage, right? Well, chaos damage doesn't even have that. Chaos damage tries to be different from the other damage types. Generally, all it says is extra chaos damage. That's more than enough usually, because chaos damage is harder to get defenses around. Javron's tower, while we're at it, is 3 floors and a rooftop. I don't know if that counts too much of a tower. I guess back in these days it is. And who knows, maybe those stairs are very tall. Okay. 3rd floor. Next floor will be Sharon. The stairs are always on the edges of the tower, with the exception of the ladder to the rooftop. That's in the center of the tower. Probably right here, right a wager. Oh, okay. Maybe it is 4 floors and I'm just in a delirious state or something. Well, Color me silly then. I thought Sharon's tower was 3 floors high. It seems to be 4. Oh, this enemy can explode corpses. How fun. That's what those very loud telegraph things are. Originally, the corpse explosions were instantaneous and could really murder you because they were based on the life of the corpse that exploded. If you're next to a very big life corpse, sorry, you got exploded. However, they changed that this patch. Make corpse explosion have a telegraph, and the bigger the monster's health pool, the slower the explosion takes. So that's nice. Nice of them. Ow. I am hesitant to add all flames to areas, not only to not showcase enemies, but also because they tend to be rough monsters, and our build's not designed for that, just necessarily to be overpowered right now. If you really want to be overpowered in the campaign, frankly, playing minions is the way to go. Problem is they fall off heavily in the endgame. Whereas, you want to be powerful in the in-game, I'd say, honestly, spellcasters are good all the way through. Though, there's something to be said for ranged attack builds as well. Not Lancing Steel, this basically counts as melee, but like bow builds tend to be very strong, wanders tend to be very strong. Wands are ranged attacks, actually. Not spells, as you would think. And then anything that can automate their damage is good, be it turret-style totems or... Oh, we don't need a poignard. Or totems that... So yeah, totems, automation skills that trigger like cast on critical strike are really good. One of the top builds this league is a cast on critical strike build. Cast a spell every time you attack with a crit. Anyways, Chevron. Chevron has decided to reassemble Brutus, so here's reassembled Brutus. Somehow we dodge that damage. Not only will Brutus attack us with some new attacks and less old attacks, but he'll get supercharged by Chevron. Chevron will actually cast spells during this fight as well in her invincibility bubble. Around half health for Brutus. Chevron gets tired of hiding in her little bubble and decides to attack us herself. She has lightning books. She does a lot of lightning, as she did in Act 4. Do not be under her when she floats in the air. She will shoot lightning beams right under her that you can't dodge. They hurt. Halfway through this part, her health, she decides to just merge her soul with Brutus, and then we fight Brutus that's hyperpowered for the rest of the fight, which is similar to the way we fought him in the first half of the fight when Chevron supercharged her. I think he has one new attack, we'll see if we can get it going, where he'll float up in the air and then teleport down. That might not be this fight, though. He does do enough damage that you might want to stay away from him. But he's dead now.
Always a pleasure, milady.
Milady.
And so it begins.
So yeah. Sen is harvesting the soul of Chevron, I guess. That's what that's going on there. The one thing that's nice about Acts 6, or really Acts 5 to 10, is that the story is more coherent now, because since the story was added all at once, there's actually an overarching story now. And it's to kill Kitava. In order to do that, we need to collect the 3 minions of Malachi and then go to the belly of the beast again and grab the last remnants of it that hindered the gods before and then kill Kitava with it. How fun. This is an upgrade, I think. Less damage, but that's fine. I'll take the higher resistances, please. I don't know about this. I'm not convinced. Has more armor. Has lightning res, but it doesn't have fire res, and doesn't have an open suffix, so no. No, 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 no. Anyways, let's leave. Like before, we can't go back to the lower to the prison, or Chevron's Tower in this case. And you have to go back. You can go back to Lionel's Watch for a quest reward. One of the other quests you get a lot, and you don't really get gems anymore from Act 6 onwards. Instead, you get 4 socket gear as quest rewards.
Good.
And we could definitely use that. A Fencer Helm sounds
With
good
the
to
road
me.
the Frisian forest clear again, I
It's not a good Fencer Helm. 38 to 70. Yeah. I'm tempted to keep this in craft on it, but I don't think I can make it better than this just yet.
Farewell.
We can take a breather in town now since we got that waypoint. We don't have to stay too long. Keep this in our handy dandy gear tab. I kind of think this could be better, just not until I get fire res higher. Which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. Since we have Lily here, and since we have a bunch of open gem sockets, I'm going to do one fun thing. That is to get a support called Call to Arms. And Enduring Cry, wherever it is. Here we go. One of the things they added this patch was Call to Arms. Since they didn't want us, for some reason, to have left click be anything more than move only or attack while moving, they got rid of that functionality and instead replaced that with support skills, which ironically buffed the skills that it wasn't. That it nerfed the skills that were using that left click, but buffed other skills. For instance, Call to Arms, wherever it may be. Down here, maybe? It shouldn't be too far. Oh, it's not a support, it's here, yeah. Now, we'll automatically be casting Enduring Cry every once in a while. Isn't that fun? And Enduring Cry is the thing that gives us the... So we had Frenzy charges, now we get Endurance charges, which give physical damage reduction and elemental resistances. Mostly physical damage reduction. Yeah, elemental res and physical damage reduction for Endurance charges. Frenzy gives attack and damage, or speed and damage. Power charges gives crit chance. Also, talking to the Tarkli and Vestal, we get 2 more deities to deal with. The god of goats, the goat god, Abarath, and then a puppet mistress, which is a parasitic mother that wants to make all of the land into bug people. So we'll be seeing some of that handiwork going on a little bit. So now periodically we'll be casting a war cry that just randomly appears. Now it does have a long cooldown, so we won't be casting it that much. You have it on, right? Bring cry, call to arm. Yep, see, there it goes. It casted. It doesn't look like anything much right now.
Another day, another death.
Yep. But again, always run away from strong boxes if you open them up unidentified. Or even if you open them up in general. Fortify's nice. Our second NPC from Expedition, Tujin. We'll be talking to Tujin in a moment. Alright, so we got a level. Hopefully take it into Forceful Skewering. Probably do Call of Steel. Or we'll do a Mastery, but anyways, Tujin.
The name's Tujin. Keep fighting.
Tujin will... has this... all the Expedition vendors have the same thing. The enemy types are slightly different. Each NPC, each character in Expedition is looking for a different type of culture that's historical to them and stuff. Blow this up. Expedition is one of the few sources of immunity to damage. You can blow up these things called remnants that modify all the monsters once it blows up. Some of them are just like enemies are immune to a damage type. And that's like one of the very few sources in the game of damage immunity, if any. Like there's very few things that make enemies immune to a full damage type.
Not on my watch.
And then Tujin's thing is we can haggle for items. Isn't that fun? And haggling is, you know, he has an upfront price, but we can lower it.
That's barely worth my time spent haggling. It'll do. Ain't a win, but it'll do.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see. Individual. Where's the word? Let's get
Be reasonable. I think we can find a better compromise. Yes, from me. Don't give up.
If you haggle too low, Tujin will just straight up take the item. Will keep the item and not sell it to you because you insulted him too much. But he does expect some haggling. Tujin's actually a really good way to get currency, get crafting items. He sells basically mostly crafting items or any 1x1 socket items. And Tujin used to be much better, but he's still a very good way to get good items from... It's a little tedious to haggle all the time, but it's not too bad. Anyways, Goat God. Goat God is where the ship graveyard entrance is. Or close to it. So we'll handy-dandily search for the ship graveyard, which we don't need to, by the way. This is just conveying the story a little bit and showing that Act 6 is in fact different from Act 1.
What are you doing? God drag you to damnation if you're gonna stand by and let this happen to me.
Hello, Alice. Sorry your Wi-Fi
Believe me,
was rude.
The Brian King has far greater appetites than one nothing of a girl from Oriath.
Alright, yeah, I'm sorry, Nessa, but I'm sorry getting mind-controlled and turned into a mermaid. But I have goat gods to kill. Long story short, the ship graveyard, where Merveil's ghosts were, is flooded, like the Submerged Passage. So we're gonna go kill a goat god. Avarath is actually kind of a tricky fight. Does a lot of fire damage. Generally, if you see him wind up his hand, he is going to slam you with a meteor attack. If you see him rear up his hoods, he's going to chase you, and you want to run away from that, theoretically, because he does stomp and hurt. Let's see, and yeah. He will do a triple swing of fire, summon minions. The minions actually kind of suck, too, because they leave pools of fire on the ground that do decent damage. Avarath really is just a big fire resistance check. halfway through the fight, he will run away and summon meteors. We just run through here and ignore the meteors. For some reason, the meteors don't spawn in the first half of the fight when they're supposed to, but whatever. There's a lot of bugs that incrementally add up that keep popping up in PoE. Not sure why. So yeah, run away from that. The big new thing Aberath does is he will scream, and summon and half the screen is going to be flooded in meteors. Well, it should be, but apparently it's not. I guess it bugged out in a patch recently. Not sure why. But he's supposed to do that. And otherwise the fight's the same. Yeah, when he does that, when those runes appear under him and he screams, there's supposed to be like a wall of meteors covering half the screen.
Aberath.
Alas, the game's bugged in our favor.
At last, your thirst is quenched.
This might be an upgrade. You can craft lightning res on it and in a good spot. I like this. I like this notion.
Good souls.
And we'll switch to Aberath's ability.
And now I stink of goat.
Indeed, duelist, indeed. Less duration of ignite on us. It is a good bug to have because dying to those meteors does stink. But the gist of the meteors is they hit half of the arena, so you just generally want to go in the other half. And they come from right to left, I think, always. So you just go on the left side and see where they're coming from and go up or down. Vessel gives us a skill point for killing Goat God. Generally, all the gods, when you murder them, give you a skill point, or at least all the minor ones. Let's get Call of Steel. Oh, there's two of them. We'll definitely do the use speed. Good God. And not really a good helmet, so Nessa or Lily can buy that. I'm gonna throw some lightning res on this handy dandy belt. Bump that up a little bit. Lightning res. And lo and behold, our resistances are ever so slightly better. And our life pool's better too. Very nice. So, to Prisoner's Gate. One nice thing about warping out through Town Portal is it's generally quicker to be on the road for this part. Now our Call of Steel's better, faster, which is also good. And so Act 6 is definitely trying to prove it diverges from Act 1, and we're already going into Act 2, the Western Forests. Remember how we opened up the way to the forests? Well, that way is open. Heidi's not blocking us, so we can go immediately into Act 2. Though it's still Act 6. It's just, and we're not going through all of Act 2. Spoilers. There's a sneaky recipe somewhere around here. I'm not going to find it just yet. I'm going to go up the road and get the waypoint. Lore-wise, the canonical ending to the bandit quest is that we killed all of them. Because basically the entrance to the forest camp is blocked off, and all of the bandits have decided to team up with the forest encampment. Oh, here's Rog. Rog is Pog. Rog is another one of the expedition characters, and we will help him out as much as we can. You get 4 dynamite explosions. Once you get to endgame, you get 5. And it's just a matter of killing enemies. Some of the enemies are runic. Runic just means they have a chance of dropping specialty items called logbooks. And some of the remnants say runic monsters drop such and such. And they're referring to the monsters that just have the blue name tag, the blue tag under their modifiers that says runic. That's all. And they're usually a special base type of monster. Rog will craft items for you. Isn't that cool? You need to save up a lot of currency for it, so I wouldn't recommend using it early on. Where Alira's old encampment was, she still has some leftover zombies. We killed them. Some flesh rot here for some reason, and a crafting recipe. I say it's sneaky because it is over in Alira's encampment. There's no reason to go over there. I think the Weaver's Den is blocked in. Maybe it fell over, it collapsed or something too. Not sure what lore is for that. Here's a waypoint. Still some rooting tarantulas though. Soul Eater. The orange beams feeding this enemy is called Soul Eater. Soul Eater grants monsters life regen, I think damage reduction of some sort, and attack speed, maybe damage. And they get a soul every time you kill an enemy next to them, so generally you want to focus fire the Soul Eater if you can. Problem with focus firing in this game is it's really hard to do. You generally are going, if you do an attack, you're going to kill all the enemies around that attack. Which makes Soul Eater enemies especially dangerous. They nerfed Soul Eater recently though, at least, where max souls somebody can gain is 45. That's still way too much though, so have fun when you come across a Soul Eater. Always have fun. Invulnerability aura enemy, that's what those runes under the enemies mean. They can't take damage. You have to kill the rare monster that's causing that invulnerability. The invulnerability doesn't last forever. It appears in pulses, so you can see how the enemy's briefly vulnerable for a second, and the vulnerability aura goes away as soon as you kill the rare that's causing it. So that's nice. I'm already over 40 portal scrolls. How about that? Yeah. I alluded to how in later down the line in the game you tend to overflow on crafting items that you normally were starving on. Portal and Wisdom Scrolls are the first to go there, so we're already dropping tons of Portal Scrolls. Just the game likes to drop more of it over time. Apparent. Alice points out that souls are much stronger for a mob. A single soul is worth more now than it was originally, but they don't scale infinitely, but still like a small stack is more deadly than a lot of stacks were originally. So that's a problem. Soul Eater's still spicy, in other words. Anyways, this is an optional area, the wetlands. It's the home of Slotha, the puppet mistress. She's a bug god. She wants to make everybody bugs. Embrace bug. And what that means is, if you notice, all the enemies here, when they die, will pop out a parasite that's been on top of them. And the parasite does some annoying chaos damage, as does Slotha. Poison damage especially, I think. So, long story short, we're dealing with a lot of chaos damage early on, which is kind of annoying, but it's not too bad. It's not that much chaos damage, even at negative 30, like I'm roughly at. I'm negative 18, but still. Another smuggler's cache. Of note is, if I did the trial run quest for heist, I would start getting quest heists, quest contracts, instead of just the normal ones here, and that would take up inventory until I did the contract, which is one reason I stall on doing heist. I don't know why I put a portal there. If I die, I just go to the checkpoint out here, but Stalling on heists, if you want to get through the campaign quickly, is a good idea, because otherwise you have to do it again. Raslotha is burrowed right now. We have to kill her nest first. There's 3 nests in the arena. The arena pools in various poison goop, or chaos damage goop, really. And you kind of generally want to stay out of it. It doesn't do much damage, though, so it's not a big deal. Like, I'm just basking in it, and my regen's beating it up. After killing all 3, Raslotha pops out. She has the spit attack there. She will shoot pods on the ground that explode and deal damage. I'm waiting for her to do a burrow attack. Come on, you can do it. Eventually she'll burrow. There you go. And when she burrows, she leaves a lot of spore pods on the ground. And those will explode and do decent damage, actually. And that's about the fight. And you want to stay out of those pods, too, because they bubble and boil afterwards. They're gone now. And I mentioned Pantheon powers. Raslotha's is the one we'll be using for pretty much until the end of the game.
The Asmeri believe that one.
And
I will never get the smell out of my clothes.
apparently Raslotha smelled. Raslotha gives flash charges every 3 seconds, 3 for 3, and more life recovery on low life. That's incredibly good, because if you're in a fight where you're not getting flash charges, having these life flash charges back is just very nice. Flash sustain is actually a huge buff in this game, being able to get your flash up constantly. And I'd say while life flasks don't matter that much, it's still very good. Well, that's actually kind of a good rapier for elemental damage. However, we don't do elemental damage, so it doesn't matter. And we'll warp out since this is a dead end, and it's cheaper than, well, it's easier than walking back. Barkley gives us a quest reward for killing Raslotha. It's like another dead god, you say? And it's like, yep, another dead god. Gods are dead. Let's see, where are the other impale effects? Oh yeah, there was this one. I'll just put these town portal scrolls there. Oh, Regal Orb. This is actually pretty rare. This is like one rarity higher than Chaos Orbs. This turns a blue item into a yellow item, a magic into a rare. How fun. It's actually one of the few ways to get a rare with only 3 stats on it instead of 4. Rare items always drop with at least 4 rare attributes, like see how this has 4 of them. Regal Orbs will only add 1 to a magic item, so that'll give you a 3 attribute rare item. 3 affix rare item, sorry, not attribute. Attribute's a different term. You gotta be very literal with PoE, because PoE is very literal to you. But we're not using this, so away it goes. We only care about physical damage right now. I think it's safe to go back to the riverways. So I'm just going to say the entrance to the forest encampment where Act 2's town was is blocked. But we might as well see what it looks like, right? And just like before in the riverways, you just follow the road to get there. However, that is not our destination. Oh, we have to go somewhere more devious. Oh, Hinakora is actually really good to get. Oh yes, there's still Raslotha's little puppet bugs. You'd think that all the bugs would die forever once you kill Raslotha, but no. The bugs live on. But yeah, somewhere around where the tents are, you come across some unique monster called the Animal Pack. There's a pack of uniques called the Animal Pack. They're just a bunch of bandits that are bigger. I actually don't know what they do other than cast like bigger blast rain. Yeah, they cast these little arrow bombs. How fun. If we go to the forest encampment, it is quite blocked off. In fact, I think there's traps on the ground. Yep, they just bomb us with arrows. So we're not going that way. Kind of odd that they're attacking us. I guess we'll find out about that in Act 7. In the meantime, let us get some damage. So I mentioned Impale briefly last time. Impale is a mechanic that does basically it stores a tenth of a hit hit's physical damage, and for the next 5 hits that damage will repeat. This Impale effect, that tenth of the damage, can be increased. So it's either a 10th or a 20th. I think it's a 10th. So you can add stats of Impale effect to make that Impale do even more damage. Actually, I think it's a 20th every 5 hits. So essentially it's like the Impale doubles up again. So if you increase Impale effect, what that means is that the hit's doing essentially more than double damage over time. So a lot of fast little hits can just add up in sequence, or one big hit, and then a lot of fast little hits afterwards means that hits hit again. Impale does reflected damage, so if you ever get impaled yourself, if you are immune to reflected damage, physical reflected specifically, it will actually not damage you, the Impale. That rarely comes up, but there is one situation recently where it can, in the late end game. The fact that the damage is reflected, all that usually means is that reflected damage can't be double reflected. You can't reflect reflected damage. There's no chain reaction there. Reflected damage on players is generally very, very deadly. It used to be a modifier on monsters, but they got rid of it because it was very, very deadly. Because players just do atrociously high amounts of damage compared to monsters. It is possible to do like literally billions of damage, and player health, spoilers, does not scale that high, even with damage reduction and such. Generally, if you come across areas that say enemies reflect even a 10th of the damage you deal, that area is basically undoable for all but the lowest of damage builds that are still viable. The game at this point expects you to just not use either to become immune to reflected damage or just simply not run a reflected area. That's the current status of Reflect. Used to not be that way. It used to be that you could run reflected damage areas just by healing through it. Now it'll just one-shot you. There's hardly any build in the game that can sustain reflected damage. Those builds are just designed to do more than your health bar in a single hit. Right. As pointed out, currently you can hit a single monster for like 6 million in a into your map, and even a 10th of that damage, or a 13th or 15th, that's still 900,000 damage, and there is not really any build in the game that can mitigate that much damage. That's a single monster, assuming they have that much health. But yeah, and that's reflect per enemy, so if you hit a single pack of monsters with that much damage, it'll just destroy you. Anyways, the other thing of note is that there was a monster called the Hollow Skulled Willing Host in spat out a bug called the Encephalophage. It was a monkey. He murdered it. There was nothing of note elsewhere in there. Cavern of Anger, Mervale's Cavern, as you may know. It flooded only on the first half. The second half is still fine. I'm gonna go back to town to sell stuff before I go in there, though, because I want to do something. Not good enough. Oh, should be noted speaking of reflect. Reflect flat damage is completely pointless. This is called Thorns in other games. Reflect damage to melee attackers. Reflect is so low and so hard to scale that reflect damage is just completely pointless. Reflect damage to attackers is... I don't know any build that can run that is sustainable enough to actually use the build like do an attack like that.
Good tidings to you.
So this is basically a dead stat, having reflect damage to melee attackers. Alas. Anyways, we are going to use an All Flame Ember on the Cavern of Anger because it has repeat enemies, just has the squids and stuff, and the crabs. And we're gonna put in Hinakura. Because Chieftain Twahanuku and monsters here have a chance to drop tattoos, which I haven't talked about yet. Overkill does reflect? Oh wow.
Run, King. His time has almost come. Then hope
Oh yeah, Nessa's helping us out now.
I will be gone.
She's being mind controlled slowly over time,
Take the black flag.
but wants us
It
to
runs splattered from the
go
mast
to the
of
Brine
Roth's
King.
Wayland Roth's ship.
Right, yeah, I don't
Throw it into
care.
the flames of the beacon. It's your only chance of reaching me.
Delirium Mirror appeared here. That's a random
You can't
chance.
keep secrets like this from me any longer.
Into a trap.
Maybe, but I can do damage enough, Mr. Delirium voice. So, the Mystic Prophets are part of the Tsukurui. Today I learned from Alice in chat that reflects based on overkill damage, not based on the damage they have taken. And that's all the more deadly. So if you do any amount of damage needed for in-game areas, you will die to reflect. It's just not sustainable, but that's okay. We just become immune to reflect or don't run reflect. Easy. And there are ways to do that without having to roll into special classes. It's a little tricky and a little bit of a waste of stats. But it's still worth it. Oh, here's Twahanuku. Twahanuku has Frozen Flume, which is the rare attack that happened with. Twahanuku does chaos damage, it looks like. And we get a tattoo. Tattoos are from Trial of the Ancestors League. They were initially thought to be a league-only mechanic and would be gone from the game entirely once the league was over. However, they have remained, and they keep returning, rather, in other leagues. Like, it's still a temporary mechanic, because the All Flame members are from the Necropolis League, and will go away. But they keep adding the tattoos from it as things that can randomly spawn, which is kind of nice. Tattoos, basically you right-click on them and replace a passive on your skill tree that matches the passive shown, and it will replace it with a different passive. How fun. So you're tattooing your passive tree, I guess. You can use an Orb of Scouring to get rid of that tattoo, but the tattoo will be gone forever. It doesn't come back to you or anything. Grasping Vines. This enemy has Grasping Vines. Basically, you get slowed over time. I think it's just an aura she does. You can break the vines by blinking with Frost Blink, or I want to say Flame Dash and Dash can get rid of it too. Leap Slam does not, though. Or does Shield Charge. Moving also gets rid of it, just moving fast. And the more Grasping Vines you take, not only do you move slower, but you take more chaos damage. It's very annoying. Oh, interesting. So yeah, if an enemy had 0 hit points, but was inflicted with allies cannot die, they would still reflect all their damage back at you. So anyways, that was tattoos. And grasping vines. Ah, here's the next tier of flask. Followed, they drop at level 50. Or require level 50. Sanctified actually consumes more charges than Hollowed. Like, these consume 10, these consume 15. So you can only use 2 charges worth. And they heal faster, but I think overall they heal faster but consume more charges. I don't know if they heal more. I think they heal less, actually, by default. I don't use them much. I tend to use Hollowed Flask with instant healing. But I could see use case for Sanctified. I tend to not use it. Very often a hideout appears in this area, which is kind of annoying because if you already have it, it's essentially another dead end to run into. But we haven't. Let's go to the beacon. Sorry, the beacon. So, starting from the southern forest all the way to the final area of the act, there's no quests, which is why I find Act 6 to have a lot of filler zones. In this zone, it probably has the most obnoxious quest in the game. For reference, there is a quest to find 7 items in a zone, and I still say that's less obnoxious than what we're about to do. I usually get very tired and have to take a break around the beacon, not in a single playthrough. I don't like the rails. I don't like the rails. And we'll get into what we're getting tired of once I get there. It'll be in this zone, though. What else of note? But yeah, Act 6 has so many filler zones that I tend to take a breather, you know, like a break around the time I get done with Act 6, or get very fatigued. It just, the pacing of it feels like a slog, frankly. Oh, that's a good point. If you have low HP, you're more vulnerable to certain ailments, like freeze and shock. A lot of the effect of those ailments is based on what your current health is. Same with stun, actually. The lower your health is, the more than the damage you're taking, the more you're going to get stunned. So if you're at low HP, you're going to be frozen a lot. Which is why one of the first things I try to find in an area like this, as you can see, those bubbles appear and they do a lot of cold damage, or enough to freeze you, is to get a freeze immunity and chill immunity flask. And those help a lot. Based off max health, current percentage doesn't matter. Yeah, that's right. So not percentage, but just your max health. I misspoke. Yeah, so the lower your max health is, the more the stun or the freeze or the shock will affect you. So having effective health is pretty good. No, actually I think it's just health. Energy shield doesn't apply. In most cases. It might apply to freeze and shock, but it definitely doesn't apply to stun. Periodically enrages, so this snake will occasionally get very big. This snake is taking a lot of time to kill because it's a red beast, and red beasts, well, not only are they red on the minimap and slightly red tinged, but they also have a lot more defense. But they are the main way to get crafting recipes from Einhar, or bestiary recipes. Alright, more impale effects. That's a very good crafting recipe, the next tier of life and mana. The final tier of life and mana in the campaign appears all the way at the end of the playthrough, so... Alright, here's the reason I don't like this quest. If you're familiar with deliver the payload missions in shooter games, that's this. We have to stand in the radius of this little tank, and it'll slowly crawl up to the fuel deposit spot. Enemies will bombard us in the meantime. Hello, hello. I am doing well. So, this is why I don't like this quest. It's not the enemies attacking you. That at least is a saving grace. You know, you get to fight a little bit. It's the fact that you just kind of have to sit here and wait and wait and wait. The payload delivery always ends with these spectral totems shooting fire at you. I don't know why. I don't know why ghosts are so angry about defending a fuel tank, but here we are. Sorry, I'm not doing... Well, this isn't a solo self-found game mode. It's also just kind of like an informative run, so I'm not taking group invites right now. And unfortunately, I'm in the SSF mode, which is like you can only... which I think you unlock when you first free the Scion in Act 3. I forgot to mention that. But either way, it's going to be a single-player mode right now. Ignition switch. Yeah, I forgot about it until very recently, that you can only do SSF on, when you free the Scion in Act 3. Other people in chat might play, though. No guarantees on that.
So you're the shite that's gone and summoned me to the beacon, eh? Damn it all.
Ah, Waylem here. So throwing, for some reason, lighting a beacon, which I guess makes sense, getting a lighthouse, and then throwing blood into it, will summon the undead pirate Waylem Roth, who is somehow a still sane ghost, and will carry us in his awesome-looking ship, and the Black Flag, into the final area of Act 6.
First time for everything.
And we're going to fight the boss of Act 6 in a moment, once I go to town, because my inventory is getting full, and I don't want it to get full in the middle of the campaign, in the middle of the zone. Let's see if any pieces of gear are interesting. I'm going to go with vendor fodder, everything.
Time and tide wait for no man.
Anyways, Brine King's Reef. Yeah, Necropolis League, pointed out, has been kind of controversial for a lot of players. One of the things is that because every zone has modifiers on monsters, it makes the campaign rougher than usual. Yeah. Beauty's really good, in my opinion. A lot to learn, which is why we're doing this slow playthrough. I'm just talking about the game and explaining things as we go, giving a little bit of history lessons. Brine King's Reef I find actually kind of a hard area to navigate. It's a very large zone. It kind of becomes a U-shape, kind of. There's generally like this big center part and then it loops around some direction. I never really navigated that well. Most zones generally are navigatable pretty easily. There's some zones that are spicy with their layouts. There's one zone in Act 7 that is especially notorious for having to really get a feel for the tile set or getting lost forever. We're not going to do that, Abyss. We will talk to Danig, the final NPC of the expedition crew. Yeah, I'm referring to Vol City, for those in the know. If you know, you know. Danig's the leader of the expedition crew. And again, we're not going to read all the dialogue, but we will talk about what they're saying. Yeah, I'll mention multiplayer in a second once we talk to Danig.
But skin and bones, Exile. But the most powerful. I'll sing of
Danig will want us to. Danig is same as before. You know, blow up 4 corpses, blow up the 4 dynamite, and, have fun. Generally, if you can handle those remnants, they are worth exploding. But if not, just try to blow up the big skulls. Those are runic monsters that can drop the good items. I'm actually unsure if I can handle this fight. I think I can. The Knights of the Sun, which are Danig's ancient faction, we did it. They drop sun artifacts or whatever. And Danig is just all the other 3, just sells all the other 3's currency and reroll currency, and sometimes logbook. So if you want to do any of the other 3 merchants of Expedition Crew, just talk to Danig and he'll sell you stuff. So multiplayer is actually a good thing to talk about in this game. Group play is in kind of a weird spot in Path of Exile. It can be very fun, but a lot of people really like to rush in this game, so new players, in public groups at least, might have a hard time kind of playing like if you're playing by yourself, if you're new to the game and playing, I'd say try to make a coordinated group or see if anybody try to make a coordinated group rather than doing public, because public groups are expecting just to rush the game because they've probably played dozens of times or something like that and just want to get through the campaigns expeditiously fast. Why am I trying to make fancy words here? I actually don't know where I'm going on this tree now. We got life. I might need more accuracy ratings soon. Ah, I know. We're going to get Aura Effect and Champion of the Cause. So, that being said, multiplayer has several ways you can approach it. You can do public groups, which generally is very chaotic. Sometimes it can result in a lot of bad. Some builds don't synergize with others. Sometimes one player has much faster, much more powerful character than others and rushes past everything. And generally I find when I'm doing public groups, I tend to title the group session as Follow the Leader. Leaders in multiplayer are marked with a blue dot as opposed to the green dot of other allies in a multiplayer session. So if you see a group that says Follow the Leader, make sure to stay with the blue dot. Be nice, be cooperative. There's other forms multiplayer can take. You know, sometimes it results in a fun session having that casual group, though. Then there's like coordinated, like play with your friends kind of stuff, which, can be fun. Just go slow and talk, and generally get on a voice call or something maybe to coordinate. One pesky thing about Path of Exile is loot is actually shared on the ground, so if you see this polished spike shield, other players will see it. In fact, there's 3 ways you can assign loot. There's free-for-all, where just anything is grabbable. Short allocation, where where rare items will allocate to certain players for a little bit and then become free-for-all. Then permanent, which is what I like to turn it on to. Well, I do free-for-all and I think I do permanent for public groups and free-for-all for coordinated groups. That's funny. Yeah, you can troll public groups sometimes too. Ask for help, then do them be super tanky but do no damage. But there's one final group type in the game, and that's the coordinated party play of veteran players. And that's where people not only make a build for themselves, but make a build that works with 2 to 5 other players, because player cap goes to 6 in this game. That's very silly, Alice. I love it. But, so you make a build dedicated to synergize with all 5 players. This generally involves having one player be the kill dealer, the coller as they call it, because of the skill culling strike which kills enemies. One player being the damage dealer, the carry, as MOBAs have taught us to learn. And one player being, and then everybody else being support characters in some way. They tend to not do damage, they tend to just support the build in some way. Be they just have a bunch of auras that affect all the other players. I have never seen the game do a big loop around like that. I blame the Val Zone for shifting the layout. Be they aura bots, as they're called, players that are just dedicated to doing auras that do no damage but buff everybody else. Curse aura bots that do the same thing, but they also land curses. Just generally as many auras as you can stack on the other, let's say, 4 characters. So you have 1 character dedicated to murder, 1 character dedicated to damage, and 4 other characters dedicated to buffing the other 2. Well, the other 1. Buffing the damage dealer. And I'm not expert on that, I've never done that level of group play, but it is the way to get the most damage out of the game. Like, to have the most powerful, like, damage dealing builds. To the point where the game's frankly not balanced around it. This game's balanced that everything can be done single player. There's no, like, raid level bosses. It's so you can raffle stomp almost everything in group play. But it does require a lot of investment and a lot of coordination and a lot of investment not only in gear but also in terms of grouping up with other players that you know and all of that. And ironically, the way loot's distributed in this game, it tends to not give enough loot back to, like, it's actually more efficient grind-wise to play single player or play in a small group than it is to play in a full 6-player party. Because, honestly, while loot does multiply per player, you'd have to divide that loot between the 6 players. Well, anyways, let's take a pause and talk about Nessa here. Nessa's mind controlled on this rock that's...
A sumptuous feast for His Majesty on his
Yeah,
wedding day.
you may notice there's a
We are both
anglerfish
touched by your generosity.
wire next to her, and that's because it's not a rock, it's a rock god monster lobster. This is the Brine King, Soagoth. Gods in this game were once humans that basically amplified their did something that made them turn into a god, usually just through emotion. You can see the tail the whole time. Yeah, you can see that it's clearly a lobster monster. So Soagoth summons a bubble. Don't be near him when he does the bubble. Every quarter health bar, Nessa will pop out and siren sing and cause lightning storms to happen, along with the water crushing in. So now the arena is limited, and if you go out here, you take damage and it hurts. Don't do that. Cold and lightning resistance are recommended for this fight, as well as some physical resistance for Soagoth's swipes at you. But cold and lightning especially. The lightning storms actually hurt a lot. The general strategy I do for lightning storms is the water spouts don't do that much damage, the lightning does. Just stand still and only move if you see a circle on you, and then move away from the circle. And that's generally my strategy for that. Notice the arena is smaller and smaller every phase. So yeah, just stand still and don't get hit. A lot of people used to warp out for this part of the fight in hardcore, because dying to this fight would be bad in hardcore. They'd warp out and use the, actually we can do that right now, just to demonstrate. And I can talk about multiplayer for a second. So one thing you can do in this game to cheese it, if you ever find yourself in a phase of a boss fight that you have to wait out, you can cheese it a little bit. As far as multiplayer goes, though, the reason multiplayer grouping doesn't happen much is A, you either do the chaotic amount, or even coordinated play. Dividing the loot not only between the 6 players, but also having one player dedicated to selling all the loot while the other 6 players run the areas, and then give the loot to the 7th or even 8th and 9th person to trade, means that you get less loot overall, divvied up that much. But it's fun for some people, so they do it. So not only do you have the 6 party members, you have a 7th trading player. So it's actually like a 7-person group. Anyways, that's multiplayer for a little bit. We might ramble about it more later. For now, though, the Brine King Reef. So yeah, when you portal into an area, you get a minute of can't be damaged. The enemies don't notice you. You just stand here. Nothing happens, but once you move, things happen. So let's go fight Brine King. And that's one cheese way you can actually, in that ad phase, you can just warp. You can just wait it out, and yeah, you can see how much damage that lightning hit did. And that was with full resistances. That lightning hit would have insta-killed me if I had negative 30, because it did like a fifth of my health before. Let's see. Path of Exile definitely demands some gear resistances. The game, while it does having some skill elements, is very gear check.
But there was nothing I could do for you.
And we get our first major pantheon. Killing an act god, there's a few of them, will net you a major soul. So the minor souls are for the side quest gods. The major souls, which are the act bosses, give you a special ability, give you a major pantheon. You can have one big circle, one little circle. Brine King is the one most people use. When you're stunned, you can't be stunned for another 2 seconds. Very useful. But people use Brine King for the upgraded version, especially, which is you can't be frozen. And freeze immune is annoying enough to get that you might as well just take it from the Brine King. And you do want to be immune to freeze in this game. Well, we did it. We killed Brine King. Nessa is either dead or led away into the ocean or something. I actually don't see Nessa's corpse here. And maybe she just got eaten up by the Brine King. It's just digesting in there. Either way, not a happy ending for her. So, alas. Whalem? Whalem is very surprised that we lived. Well, she gets eaten at the beginning, but she pops out every once in a while, so maybe she theoretically popped out at the end and swam away. That's what I like to think, right? Right.
How did you?
So, Whalem's like, how did you live? Congratulations, you killed a god. And we're going to go on his awesome-looking ship, the Act 7.
Hold on to your cockles, me hearty.
I just love that line, hold on to your cockles, me hearty. So, Act 7, no introduction, no preamble zone before we get to town. And we are in the encampment that Creighton was in. Creighton was that one of the 3 bandits we murdered that was on a broken bridge. Now the broken bridge is a town for us. So, like always, we're going to end this little bit here. And either take a break and resume another session, or switch game playing for a second. Oh, excuse me. That was Act 6. Silvergoth is dead. Brian King saved. We got Sharon. We moved on. And now we have 2 more Malachi's minions to deal with, and probably other gods to slay. And that'll happen next time.